Okay, filming in the upright format for the sake of this video. So, just a couple of things. Just getting done with all the water for the season, and I have shut off this valve and the valve that goes to the hot water heater. And the reason why is I have my air line hooked up, my compressed air hooked up, and the first thing I'm going to blow out is the garden hose. And once I get the garden hose blown out, I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to blow out the hot water heater through the main line by the valve, hose valve, so that's done. But for now we got these two shut off, and then I'm going to empty the hose of pressure and then we'll blow the hose out. Okay, so turn that off, it's making it worse, I think. So now I've closed this valve up here, so I'm not going to push any water back up to that header. I've opened, this valve stayed open, this valve stayed closed, and I've opened this valve, which feeds the hot water heater. Now, all the faucets are open for heat. And this way, when I start to, I had to hook my pressure hose to the garden hose. So now I'm pushing air back through the garden hose. And this should push any water through the hot water heater. You should be able to hear it. It should be going into the sinks. And in a minute my air compressor will turn on and I'll kill the video, so I'll shut that off. So, okay. You can see the pressure gauge is going up because I'm backfeeding. Oop, I should turn this off. So I really don't want it to come on. Should have took the batteries out and turned it off. I heard it clicking. I just really prefer to push air through the hot water heater. Gives me a much bigger level of comfort that we have eliminated any water in there. Alright, now that that's done, I'm going to open the valve. I'm going to open the relief valve, make sure any other water can get drained. And then we need to take this apart. So there's a battery compartment under here, and it's already open because the door doesn't latch very well anymore. 2D batteries. We unthread this knob. And then we can pull this knob straight out. I guess I usually put stuff on the back shelf because there's brooms and things here. So, and then once you do that, you just lift up, this should pull off. Okay, so one last thing we want to make sure we do with the hot water heater is there's a little plug here. This is a 5/16. It's just a tiniest little plug. I thought it was a 5/16. I think it's a square head. That's why. And then this allows any other remaining water from the low point to come out. And that's it. The hot water heater. Okay. So close up pump. We're gonna first of all unplug the pump. Just want to make sure it doesn't come on, and then we can turn this valve off for the moment. And actually, we'll turn it back on because we want to let all the water come out from the cottage. That's a weird thing. Spider web over the end. So we're gonna let that drain for a minute, and then what we're gonna do is just loosen up these two unions. We want to try real hard not to spin any of the other piping. It'll want to all turn because that's your highest torque point. This should drain everything from the cottage. More is going to come out when I take the pump off, but I'll probably take the suction side off. So we just try to spin that. Once it loosens up, I want to just kind of clean that off and be ready for next year. The O-ring is on this side, on the pump side. Water pretty much stopped inside. The same thing here. And you see it's trying to spin the whole thing. That's just the potential for leaks when that happens later. So, good thing to do is always make sure you have an O-ring. And when you get back up to the house, there's still an O-ring, because we're going to put this in the tool shed. And probably should take this off too, because you really don't want any water sitting in anything. This screen looks like it's a little overdue for cleanup, so I may blow that out with a compressor or something. I have a little dishwater in the kitchen yet. Okay, and that's it. Done with this. All right, so after the pump came off, I just bring it in here and I plug it into that outlet just enough that it spits all the last water out so nothing freezes in there. And then we want to keep this just a little loose. I don't think there's any water in there, but I did clean that up. The dishwater I had left. Okay, so I've taken the pump off down below. Now I can remove this water filter, which amazingly to me barely, you just put this upside down, barely feels like it's even tight when I take it off. So I'll find a place to pitch this and have one ready for make sure there's one for next year, which I have one left. So, and then that, once that's released, the air should let all the rest of the water go out of the line down to the lake. So it's not a big deal. All right, lots of steps here, right? So now our compressed air is filled again. I have these two shut off, so that's a drain. I will blow that out because I don't want any water in it, but it was just here from Legacy. This goes to the main cabin, and the one to the far right is the bunkie, which I opened. That's the only one that's open. So I might just put a small amount of air in there and then go to the bunkie and see what's coming out of the pipe. Alright, I'll be out of breath for these videos, but while I had that air compressor on just a little bit and water air going in here, I opened these till no water came out. I come in here, open both of these, and you got to pull this to make sure air's moving through. And another Legacy thing, we still have this toilet valve back here, which I usually try to make sure is cleaned up. But if it's open, it will squirt water all over you. And I should say, before you do all of that, there's a valve back here that you want to make sure is wide open so all the water comes out. So, and then if you're counting steps, you really get your steps in on a close-up trip. And then these two you want to open up, because these are the gravity bottom of the line for the bunkie, and let those drain out and leave them open. I've never had critters get in there. I don't think there's anything really attractive about going in there. Okay, so now we're gonna hit the main. I have the kitchen valves open, so I'm gonna open that one. And that should be blowing out the kitchen. I'm going to shut that. And mind you, the pipes don't have to be dry. They just have to have no real water volume in them that can freeze and break stuff. Usually it's at the fittings where that's open. And lastly, air I will use to blow out the kitchen again. And then that should be done. I'll leave everything open at that point. We want everything to drain as much as possible. I think that's why that drain was created originally, because this T valve was at the bottom. It was supposed to be a gravity drain. So, disconnect the air compressor. I'm going to open everything out and make sure all the valves are open, because one year, last year I think it was, I left that one closed and it broke. So, and that one being, probably couldn't see, that one there, that's the drain for the hot water heater. So I think we're done.